First, the Institute of Public Affairs has released a new documentary called The Faces of Net Zero, which shares the stories of several Victorian farmers who are being impacted by the state's renewables rollout, particularly the VNI West transmission line project. Here's a bit of a preview.
We definitely should have been consulted, and up to this point I don't feel like I have been consulted at all.
Our property rights have been extensively eroded. I don't think that the government should be behaving the way they are. All Victorians should be, and all Australians should be really concerned about this.
It makes me feel sick in the guts that they can come over here and just put a ruler across a map and say we're going there.
Well, good to see you, because you and I spent most of January and February up around this sort of area. We met the people, heartbreaking stuff, but you were really determined to turn this into vision and a story, a documentary that all Australians can watch and start to fight for these sorts of farmers.
Well, that's exactly right, Peter. And as you experienced firsthand, speaking to these farmers and hearing their stories about exactly how this rollout is affecting their communities, I mean, what we heard is these communities are just being steamrolled by the political class and the elites, and their voices aren't being heard. And there's a reason for that, because those who support net zero are doing so because they've been told that it's the right thing to do, that it's the moral thing to do. But when you hear these very, very real stories about what's happening to these communities, the way they're being bullied, the way their communities are being divided, the way their rights are being taken away, you no longer can feel good about supporting these policies. So that's why we put together this documentary, to share these real stories from these real farmers.
I know from my viewers there's a lot of really good people in the city who are supporting the farmers and regional communities, right? They don't support net zero. They do not want this policy to keep going. But there's a whole lot of people who just voted in May to return the Albanese government, who've drunk the Kool-Aid, and it's like they don't care where their food comes from in the future. They don't care about the export earnings we have that pays for the NDIS and all the things they expect for free from government. How do you get that message across?
Well, it's a hard one, because for so many people in the city, these policies and the consequences are out of sight, out of mind, specifically with the rollout.
It doesn't hit them, you mean?
Exactly right. Yeah. But that's only now during the rollout stage. However, the downstream consequences of net zero policies, of the renewables rollout, it will hurt all Australians, and they'll see the impact on their power bills, they'll see the impact on their grocery bills. It will hit all Australians where it hurts.
I've got another clip, let's have a listen.
If you see someone, driving around, you're like, who's that? I bet you that, is that TCV? Is that AEMO? Do we need to be letting someone know that, because they're, if they're out and about, they're always up to no good. And, that's distressing, to constantly be on guard. If planes are flying over, you're on the app to see what plane that is. Is that one of those TCV planes? What are they doing? We had lots of helicopters and stuff. Lots of anxiety about what they're doing. And I mean, I never even had an app that followed planes before that.
And we also know through the Victorian Parliament, they've ran through legislation that enables these companies now not to knock on the door and ask for access to the farm. They can just walk on, and if the farmer says, hang on, this is my land, we do have property rights in this country, they're up for $12,000, $14,000 fines.
That's right. So the Labor government's tabled new legislation in Victorian Parliament, which basically strips away any rights that these farmers originally had to protect their properties, because this is what the Labor government does here in Victoria. If they can't work with the community, they steamroll them, and that's what the purpose of this legislation is. So any farmers now who stand up against and try to protect their properties, they're just going to be hit with fines of up to $12,000.
And you and I know, Victoria is the petri dish for Labor. They try it out in Victoria, they work the model up, and it's just rolled out across the country.
That's exactly right, and it also sets an enormously bad precedent for government here in Victoria, and all Victorians should be concerned, because if they can do this to regional communities, it'll hit all Victorians soon.
You also did all that research uncovering the dark money of these big projects and just how many of them are foreign-owned.
Well, that's exactly right. This is all being propped up by foreign companies. So we had a look at the 50 largest operating solar farms and the 50 largest wind farms here in Australia. And each year, Australians are paying $1.7 billion to prop up these companies. But $1.2 billion of that is going to foreign-owned companies.